What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to another garage video. So, what do you guys think about Diablo 4? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think it's more like Diablo 3? Or is it more like Path of Exile? Or is it what some have been claiming? A mesh between Diablo Immortal and Diablo 3, which is like one of my greatest fears in regards to Diablo 4. I hate to say it, man, but as far as I see it, gone are the days of a true sequel for Diablo 2. Alright? Them days are long gone. It's a different company now, man. These folks have different priorities, alright? I think we all know that. They have to make it cell phone friendly, things like that. Appease to a wider audience, things like that. Easily accessible. Woke as like a major priority. You know, they have different priorities now. They didn't really have those priorities back in the day. So this is a different game. But with that being said, I've been having a pretty good time, man. The truth is, I've been wanting to play a different game. I've been waiting for a different game. And yeah, my YouTube channel is pretty much all about Diablo. So this was the ace in the hole, you know what I'm saying? Even though D2R is still where it's at, it seems. And the research institution will continue on with D2R, all right? So if you want to help fund the research, there's links in the description below. You can become a patron or a channel member. Blessings to you guys for all your support. And by the way, like this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. But blessings to my patrons and channel members. And I have now been establishing as well the Diablo 4 Research Institution, so stay tuned for those videos. But I've been waiting to play a new game, right? Like Diablo 2 is great. Project Diablo 2 is probably even better. So we're gonna have those. It just feels so different, doesn't it? Like with Diablo 2, at the start of the game, it felt so desolate and alone. You don't really know what's going on. There's not all sorts of NPC mumbo jumbo. You don't really have to listen to anything. You just walk right outside of town into the Bloodmoor, and you have this vast, wide open area. You don't really know where to go. You can go around and you see these devilkins, and you start beating them over the head with a club. It was enthralling, man. And I think you guys know that. And then the Den of Evil was just somewhere in there. You could maybe follow that little path, but you didn't have to. You could just skip it and walk to the Cold Plains, another wide open area where you could just explore and go anywhere. And with Diablo 4 so far, it's been really linear, hasn't it? It's like it's really holding your hand through all that. But again, these are different games. But I mean, they need to have bigger areas, wide open areas where you just go around and kill shit. And I like to have the waypoint thing. They continue to have waypoints. One Diablo-esque thing about this game, they have the waypoints, so we have that going for it. I would like there to be like some set monsters in certain areas, you know what I mean? Like in this open world thing, where you can take a waypoint and you could, for example, kill Eldritch or Shank Like maybe they won't be far from the waypoint, or enemies similar to them, similar sort of dynamics. You take a waypoint in this different act, and you can go kill the council, a bunch of unique guys in a row, and a greater challenge. Something like the Chaos Sanctuary as well. Hopefully they have something like that coming up. But they need to have something like that going on, because it's been quite linear so far. I've been having an alright time in the dungeons. There's this one where there was werewolves and shit, felt all Halloween oriented. It was a good time. The horror skeletons. The combat feels pretty good, I would say. As mentioned before, I really like the skill system, the tree, customization there, and how we can level up our skills, and they have set damage on them, just like Diablo 2. And I'm hoping they didn't catfish us with this. You know how on Tinder, chick will look good in the photo, and then you go meet her, and it's a fat bitch? But in that scenario, you kind of you feel like you gotta be nice to her a little bit, and hang out for a little while, and then, okay, gotta go, bye. There's a parallel with what could be going on here, but I hope I'm wrong. And I think I am, but I need to point it out nonetheless. In a similar way, we were told that it's going to be like Diablo 2, where you can level up the skills, and the skills have their set damage. The more you put into Chain Lightning, the more damage it does. And then the plus skill on gear and so forth will add to it. But what I didn't know is that your weapon damage adds to it as well. Just like in Diablo 3, where pretty much everything revolved around the weapon damage. So you no longer had to consider those minute factors and variables. You just had to find a weapon that did a lot of damage, and that was it. I'm hoping they're not catfishing us with this. We're saying the end game, 90% of your damage is coming from your weapon, and only 10% is coming from all those little choices you made with your skills. So the little choices you made with your skills really aren't a big deal in the end, in that case. And it's just all about the weapon damage. You might as well just put 1 point into each skill, and then you can have a variety. And it's not going to make much of a difference if you max it or not. I'm hoping that's not the case. There needs to be a nice, even balance, and I'm thinking something like 50-50. With the end game all factored in, about 50% of your damage is going to be coming from what you invested in your skills, whether or not you level that shit up or have +5 on skill gear or +20 on skill gear, or whatever those numbers are going to look like. Hopefully no more than what Diablo 2 has going on. Maybe at max you can get like +25 to all skills or something if you really bust your ass and have all your passives oriented correctly and all that. But I think a fine blend would be about 50% from skill and 50% from weapon, because then all those choices are really going to matter still. That customization is really going to matter. And it's not going to matter if your weapon damage is, if your overall damage heavily leans toward your weapon damage. If it leans in that direction, it's going to be less and less impactful, those little choices that we make. It's just going to be an illusion. And it better not be that way. So get the word out there that they better not do that if they want us to continue playing this game. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot to be unpacked with Diablo 4, and I intend to pack more throughout the videos that I have coming up in the future. And I look forward to the open beta, where I can finally play the Druid and the Necromancer. I've been most anticipating the Druid. And I'm hoping that there can be a sort of full summon Druid. We'll find out. The Paragon system I'm really looking forward to, because there's going to be a lot of customization with that, with what I've seen so far. You get those boards, and then you get another board as you progress, and you can spin that board a certain direction, and then you set it, and then you go on that board, and you can't move it anymore. You're set in your path, and there's going to be all those choices that modify your skills, your passives, and everything else. So that's going to be great. From what I can tell so far, it looks awesome, and I'm pretty damn excited for it. So I think the skills in the Paragon are really looking promising. Some say that the skill tree needs to be expanded more, and maybe they're onto something with that. More choices we can make with our skills, or leveling them up higher for that matter. Right now it seems like we can only put up to 5 points per skill. That doesn't seem like very many, but I don't know. In Diablo 2, we could put up to 20 base points into skill. So I don't know why we have this lower number. Maybe that should be a bit concerning. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments in regards to that. Another thing that's been pointing about the game by some of my commenters and those that I've spoken with, Liff specifically on this issue, a Discord moderator of mine. Follow me on Discord, linked in the description below. Thank you, Liff, for your contributions there, and Dane as well. He pointed out how the enemies level with you. And I've noticed many others point that out as well. What really is the point of leveling if they all just level with you anyway? Because as you're finding gear, you're doing about the same amount of damage in ratio to the health as you are when you start. Whereas in Diablo 2, you go out and you could go to earlier areas once you start progressing. You get level 30, you go to Act 3 and just obliterate everything. You feel very powerful. But it's interesting how in the open world you walk out there, and anyone could be out there. I think it's something that he pointed out. Just anyone could be out there in the open world who's on your server or in a merged server. And can they just destroy all the enemies when you're walking around an open world? And you can't really go single, you can't really make your own private game where you can go out there and test your character in the open world, because there's always going to be potentially another player there just wiping the screen. I'm not really sure how that works. Are the enemies, from my perspective, my level, and if someone else is in that same world right next to me, are the enemies their level for them? And then they're doing proportional damage and taking proportional damage, and I'm doing proportional damage and taking proportional damage on the basis of what level we are? I don't really know how it works. But that's different, obviously, than what we're used to with Diablo 2 and Diablo 1. I suppose with Diablo 3 we leveled with all the enemies. But that is different. And I was about to condemn that. But then I remembered. About an hour or two into my playthrough, there was this area, this big-ass fortress. It was like circled on the map. It was called like a fortified area or something. I was like, what the hell is this? So I'm level 12, right? Climb up the ladder. You have to make the choice to enter the ground. All right, you have to make a choice. You can't, the enemies just don't come and whack you if you like walk onto the territory. You had to climb a ladder to get up there. And it's this big ass open area. Pretty big map. All of a sudden it said level 25 area. I was like, shit. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. Without really thinking of it much, how all the enemies were leveling with me until that point, there's a distinction there. So I go up there and I could do some damage to the enemies. I almost killed one. But I got my ass kicked. And I tried it again. I was like, oh, if I could kill one of these enemies, maybe I'll get a ton of experience. Which might have been the case. I'm not sure. I'd like to find out. And I'm hoping that is the case. Because shortly after that, when my wizard sorcerer got to about level 16, 17, she was really kicking ass. So my assumption is I could have gotten up there at level 17 in this 25 area, killed this shit, because I was doing quite well. I was able to cast 2 hydras at once. I found the nice offhand that modified that, the legendary, which have been falling from the sky a bit way too much, in fact. But apparently there's a distinction between legendaries and uniques. I'm hoping this is true, where the uniques have about a similar drop chance as the uniques in Diablo 2. I'm hoping that's the case. And then mythic items, even more rare. Hopefully similar to like the high runes in Diablo 2 that we can like never find. You go 6 months and you don't even find a burr rune. I'm hoping they're very rare like that to really keep that item chase going. And really feeding into that reward-based system when you finally do find it. Because obviously when they're just raining from the sky, they very much lose their impact. and you get sick of it, and it just gets annoying sifting through all the garbage. So maybe they're just raining from the sky because it's the beta. But nonetheless, my hypothesis was that I could go up there at level 17 or 18 with my double Hydras and kill shit and gain experience even faster. I probably could have gotten to level 25 far sooner if I would have done that, because I forgot about this zone. I got my ass kicked a couple times at level 12, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Well, I guess I'll leave. So I left, and I did the rest of the map in the beta. No, I didn't do the world boss yet. I did get to 25. But I did the rest of the map, and everything was leveling with me, and it was fine, and I got to 25. Well, I got to 24. I'm about to be 25. So stay tuned for that video. I'm going to try out this zone that I tried at 12 and I got my ass kicked at. So I'm going to enter the zone at 24 and see how it goes. But nonetheless, that's a good sign. They're giving us both. They're letting you... Because on one hand, is that really the gold standard, what we get with Diablo 2? Where you walk into the Bloodmoor, you walk into the Cold Plains, you go to the Stony Field, the enemies slowly level by area. You could race through it at level 1 and all of a sudden be in an area with level 12 monsters and get your ass kicked or really test yourself. Whereas I thought that option was gone now. But they have these fortified areas where they're meshing it in. And how abundant are these fortified areas going to be where the monsters are set level? I don't know. But I'm hoping they're quite abundant. And I'm guessing they're going to be in every act. Maybe multiples of them. Or maybe just one big one for every act. I'm not sure. But that's a great sign, man. Because I wonder if maybe I do set Diablo 2 as the gold standard in many ways that are good, but in some ways that might be to my detriment without me knowing. Because the nice thing about the enemies leveling with you is you can go through all the acts and kill shit no matter what level you are and experience the different content, the different environments, and you can still gain some from it. Whereas in Diablo 2, when you're all maxed out in hell, nobody's going to the Bloodmoor to kill shit. Nobody goes to the Den of Evil to kill shit. Now we do a little bit with the terror zones, but I'm not much of a fan of the terror zones. I don't really like how they force you to go here or there depending on what time of day it is. They might be avoiding that with Diablo 4, where now the terror zones are just everywhere, in that the enemies level with you. But the difference is, you have these set level places as well, that you can go and really test your character like you could in the old days. So I'm trying to approach this with a non-biased toward Diablo 2 open mind. Maybe that's not that bad of a thing. That now, when you're maxed out in Diablo 4, it seems, you can go to any of the acts, to whatever environment you want. The enemies are going to be leveled with you, and you're going to be maxed out, of course. So it's not going to be like the Greater Rifts in Diablo 3 where there's just no end to it. And that just sucks. There's just no end. There's no benchmark. But there is going to be a benchmark because you're going to max out in your level. And then you can really test your character in all the areas, just killing shit. You're like level 50, they're all level 50, just killing shit. And there's the benchmark then. You can really, you can experience all the content whenever you want, wherever you want. It seems like that might be a good thing. And as you're leveling up, you have these set zones where they are set levels, and you can push your character against them. What are those fortified areas going to look like endgame, though? I don't really know. Are those going to be the 85 areas? Or in this case, like the 55 areas where they're like 5 levels higher than you and you can't match them, but I don't really know what it's going to look like. I don't really know what the end game is going to look like. We don't really have too much information on that, but nonetheless, I'm kind of liking where it's going, man. It felt pretty good. Playing the game, I think they need more customization with the characters, with the visuals. A little bit more face customization, hair, maybe even the body. Let us change up the body. The items look like shit. It is convenient that they all fit in those little tiny spaces, but they really lost their feel. With Diablo 2, you're in a trade game or whatever, and somebody throws a Breath of the Dying Berserker axe in the trade window. Boom. It takes up those 6 item slots. It's big, it's hefty, it's thick, it's ethereal, and then you can see it so clearly. And the transparency of it, it's beautiful, and you can hear it, boom, clang, clang, when they pop that in the window. Same thing with the body armor. It takes up 6 spaces, boom, clang, it's that heavy metal. They've lost their feeling entirely when they just are those little tiny things that take up the same slots, no matter what. The rings take up 1, a greatsword takes up 2. So that, I can understand why they do it, because it's convenient in sorting your items. You don't have to play inventory Tetris and all that. Inventory Tetris. But do you think it's worth it? As mentioned, it is convenient. You can store them, you can store more of them, you can store them in your stash easier. It's practical, but they kind of lost their feel a little bit. Maybe the art icon needs to be larger for the weapons and the armor. I think that's what they should do. Keep them the same size in the inventory. Just thought of that now. I think it's a great idea. And have the art icon with all the text. There's that little art icon. For like the bigger items, have it be really big. You know, have it be kind of, yeah, so it feels more hefty. That's probably what they should do. And it's kind of a minute thing to complain about. But it's interesting the impact that has. Because you don't really get that now. Big ass piece of armor drop. Big old metal piece of armor. Takes up all those spaces in your inventory. But yeah, I can understand why they don't do that. But they should probably, for a healthy medium, they should just make that art icon larger. Now, there's more to say about it. But I'm just going to play it more. And allow myself to let this shit bask. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to let it bask and take it in more. And I have been enjoying myself. I'm looking forward to playing this set zone where I'm 25 and where I'm 24, it's going to be 25. But another thing that many have pointed out, and I've touched on this before, is trade. I really don't know a better way to say this. The trade system where it's at is good, all right? Everybody wants completely open trade, so then they can go and buy their shit online. Or then they can run a bot and sell all the shit. Most of them just want to buy all the shit, you know? I really don't enjoy being in a game with my homies even, my boys. And there are some acquaintances in there, or maybe even some of them amongst us. All of a sudden the next day they have this godly as fuck gear. And you're like, oh, cool. You have Hoto and Enigma already. It's the second day of ladder. Wow, where'd you find those runes? They're like, cow level pit, chaos, things like that. And you're like, oh, cool. And you have to act like you believe them. So all of a sudden they're obliterating everything in the game. It's no longer fun playing with them. You try to go the cast, you're like, oh, look at my droid. I'm able to kill this Oblivion Knight in like 4 hits. And they whiz by and just the screen just explodes. Everything's dead. They're like, cool. Then they whiz by and teleport away. They're like, wow, good job, buddy. Yeah, you almost killed that Oblivion Knight with a couple hits. But look what I just did. I just killed 50 of them with 1 click. And then you gotta act like, wow, you deserve it. Yeah, you found that stuff, right? But no, they didn't find that. They bought that shit online because there's free trade. There's open trade. So you got to keep it as it is, where you have to earn it through blood, sweat, and tears. All right, that's how I like it. And if you want to argue, if you want to try to shame that and say, well, you must be for like big government in games or whatever, regulations. Why can't you be, what's wrong with you, Iceman? But here's the answer to that. That's a logical fallacy. to make that analogy, because this is a game. And my reasoning is it's important not to mix the game, in my opinion, with real life. When you merge it, I don't want it to be merged with real life. Because when you do that, it's not how much effort you put in the game then, who's the top of the duel ladder and just obliterating all the monsters because they have all the best gear because they bought it. When you merge real life with it, you can use your credit card to buy shit when you have open trade, and then it ends up being whoever is dumb enough to buy enough items in the game with real money wins. And that's not the game I want to play. I don't want to try to immerse myself into the world while the real world can phase into it as well with our credit cards. And whoever's stupider wins because they use their real money to buy all the shit. I mean, most of us have probably done that in the past. I'm not going to lie, maybe I have as well, when I was like 15 years old. But I quickly found how much that ruins the game. In a game all about working to find the great gear, what happens when you have all the great gear? It's game over. So if you use your credit card and buy all the great gear, all of a sudden it's just game over. There's nothing to do, except for maybe go try to show off in front of your friends and act like you found all the shit. And go and beat everyone in duels because you bought all your shit with your credit card. I want to play the game where you have to earn your shit by working in the game, by busting your ass in the game. That slow progression. I don't want to play the game where everybody can buy shit with their credit card and they're going to kick my ass in a duel because they bought all their shit with a credit card. Or I'm going to try to be homies with them and go and run this and that zone, and they're going to just plow through it because they have all the top tier gear because they bought that shit. So this is really the only way to disable that, is by having bind on find items, basically. Or whatever they have going on where maybe a couple folks in your party you can trade within like the first hour. And I think they found a good medium with all that. Because apparently we can trade rares and magics and some other shit. But for the best stuff, I would say for the top like 20% of items, we shouldn't be able to trade. For that reason, because that just means we're going to be able to buy them. So what I'm arguing is we should not be able to buy our items with cash. And this is the only way, is by having it bound on your character when you find the damn thing. So if you're for open trade, you are for buying your items with cash and other people doing that you're competing with or trying to have a good time with. All right? There's no way around it. So what they've done is good and necessary. Which reminds me of one more thing I really like about the game is the pulling the aspect from a legendary item. With that bitch in town or whatever, you can destroy your legendary item and pull the essence of it, the aspect of it, and apply that to a different item. And it's single use. It's not like Diablo 3, where once you broke it down, you have that attribute you can just plug to your character and use it whenever you want. Which eliminates a lot of critical choice. Because now it takes the aspect with the same stats. It doesn't just give you the best stats of that legendary now. It gives you the same stats that you found it in, the same variable of the legendary effect, and you can apply that once to an item. And this requires then a lot of critical assessment, unlike with D3, where you just would always have that aspect to use whenever you wanted. So it adds more depth, decision making, things like that. But that's a great thing as well. But more to come on Diablo 4. Appreciate you guys for watching this video. Like the video if you will. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these matters. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace be with you.